evolution, religion, or science. No, when evolution is spoken of relative to religion, the concept of faith versus science become the foundation of the argument. Now, it is said in such a way that if you are a bystander with no interest and you are listening to people speak on evolution, you can come to the conclusion that this is facts, that this is a science, a real science. The language used to describe evolution can mislead one to thinking that evolution is a part of the so-called exact sciences, possessing observable and quantifiable data that can be tested. No, science is observable, it is testable, and when we speak about evolution, we need to ask ourselves, is it observable? Is it testable? If it's not observable or testable, then we cannot say that it is science. The most common definition for evolution is an unpredictable and natural process of temporal descent with genetic modifications that is affected by natural selection, chance, historical contingency, and changing environment. Now, the term may seem convoluted and academic, but it is done that way, I believe, to make you believe it is science. To understand or to define the definition, we need to take apart the natural selection and the historical contingency. Now, natural selection, which was made popular in 1859 by Charles Darwin on the origin of the species, can be classified as the main vehicle driving the evolution, driving this whole issue of evolution can be considered the main vehicle that is driving it. It is accommodated by chance due to variation which existed within species caused by differences in the genetic structure of its individual members. I know to you listeners there, it sounds so profound, but I'm going to break it down into exactly what it is as we go on the next half an hour. This causes some individuals to be more likely to thrive in a given environment and to produce offspring like themselves. The actual implementation of this pseudoscience is supported by the historical contingency, or what they call punctuated equilibrium. And even that idea of punctuated equilibrium is an idea, I would say, true and present deception. The concept purports that evolution did not happen at a steady rate. Rather, the historical records show that long periods of relative stability, such as the present time, when few new species evolved. These periods, they say, were broken by short periods of rapid change. Darwin had developed this theory by his observation of the finches from the Galapagos Islands, noting that the birds were slightly different from one island to another. Darwin rationalized that the key to why these differences existed was connected with the fact that the various species lived in different kinds of environment. And there's more to it than this that we can cover in a program like this, but I'm laying the foundation for you to understand that what you have accepted as science is more a religious belief, is a more belief system, more suited for the realms of religion than the realms of science. And I'm saying that. You may say, well, how could this pastor be saying that? I mean, we are hearing about findings here and findings there. And how could you this morning, how could you have the gumption this morning to come on air and say that this is not real science, you know? This is a sort of a conjecture something. Now, in 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 3, it said, first of all, you must understand that in the last days, scoffers will come, scoffing and following their desire. Now, I make no apology that my belief in the creation is based on faith. I make no apology for that. I do not argue that. I do not try to dress my belief in anything else more than that understanding that it is based on faith. I want you to understand that. When I am speaking, I'm speaking of faith-based. But the faith that I'm dealing with is an intelligent one. You can believe things that may be plausible, and you can believe things that is downright stupid. So I'm saying, not because you cannot prove it, but your belief can be a plausible belief system. And I'm saying, when I bring that creation for you as we'll develop, I'm bringing it from a point that it's plausible, it is real, and some parts of it is observable and quantifiable. That's what I'm saying. So there's more science in religion than in evolution. It is more logical to believe that a being of high intelligence will create a being of lower intelligence than to believe, as the evolutionists do, that out of one with no intelligence came one with great intelligence. Understand what I'm saying? I want to run that again, although we don't have much time this morning. I'm saying it is easier to believe that higher intelligence created lower intelligence than to believe lower intelligence create higher intelligence. It just doesn't compute. In Darwin, on the origin of species, he continued to use words and phrases like I think, we may think, good reason to believe, inclined to believe, we may suppose, or I may suppose. In my view, it appears, we may infer, in all probability, probably, might have been, and is possible. Now, these are words and phrases that are used over 87 times, and many other similar words and phrases. In spite of the above, almost all scientists believe the punctuated equilibrium of evolution. Although there's nothing concrete, almost all, in fact, when I researched today, Pew Research did, only about 5% of all scientists argue for the creation of all present-day species and of all species seen in the fossils. In one week, about 4,000 to 800 BC, only 5% of the scientists believe that the creation story is more plausible than the evolution story. This small minority of scientists are almost entirely Christians and religious-minded individuals who believe in the inerrancy of the Bible literally interpreted. The issue of the evolution of man is the single most debated topic in the theory of evolution. There are many complex issues in the theory of evolution, but we don't have the luxury because we have not lived that long. The oldest man alive may be about 120 years. So we have not lived that long to have someone to give us a history, an eyewitness of what has happened in time past. When I speak extensively on the aspect of biological evolution, as I will bring forward to you here, I want to firstly deal with the supposed proof of descent with modification. It is important that we recognize that evolution is not science. The first thing I want you to understand, science is observable, quantifiable, it is testable. Evolution cannot and it does not meet any of those definitions for science. It's so important we recognize that evolution is not science, for scientists have never observed the evolution of one species into another. They have never did, and they cannot do because of the time that they are saying it takes to happen. Every species on Earth, as you may well recognize, every species on Earth produces only copies of itself, never a new species. So if you get up in the morning and you see your pregnant dog have cats under her, you know somebody put the cats there. She didn't make no cats. Every species, as you have observed, as your common sense have allowed you to observe, they produced after themselves. We are always being bombarded with breaking news of pre-human fossils that show the evolution of man, but are seldom later told that many fossils that were believed to be pre-humans never did pan out. For example, the Heidelberg man, the Nebraska man, and the Piltdown man were all eventually shown to be other than predecessors of Homo sapiens. In 1958, Dr. A.G.E. Cave, in an address to the International Congress of Zoology, established that a skeleton found in France, which was touted as a Neanderthal, was that of an elderly human who suffered from arthritis. Now, you may have never heard that because in that world, things like that will never be played up. Now, I want to say something though, before people feel that I am one of these guys who walk around saying science is bunk. I am a scientist and I believe in the science. I've seen how science have affected man, health, man, welfare, man, environment. I've seen both negative and the positive of it. I am one, as I said in a church yesterday, you know, I was at Londonville SD, and I said to them, the mere fact that we can drink water, we have water to drink, this is evidence that science is working for man. I know there are some folks out there, and you know, we live in the politically correct time where you cannot say someone is stupid, but they are stupid people. No doubt about that. But no, these days they can't say that. They are stupid people. And there are people who will listen to me and say that we didn't need water from all these water companies and we could have drink water from the wells. Friend, 7.4 billion of us would not have had enough water or live in places where there is this water that we can drink all from these natural springs that you are talking about. I just want you to know that. So because of science, you are alive. For those who love knocking. So I'm not knocking science, I'm knocking evolution. And I'm knocking not as a science, but as something that is purported to be science, and it's not. That's what I'm knocking this morning. The evolutionists accepted Dr. Cave's finding, but then invalidated it by saying, while that one was not a real Neanderthal, there are others. Now, we haven't seen the others, but they said there are others. They never stop to think, maybe, just maybe, the others that they are talking about might be humans stricken by diseases that are not known to us or readily observable. The nonsensical argument is also presented when speaking about the evolution of the Homo sapiens or Cro-Magnon. They have these same arguments come forward as fossil findings, billions of years old. The Cro-Magnon's brain capacity is at least equal to Homo sapiens, which proves that Homo sapiens has not evolved from the Cro-Magnon, but they will not see that like that. However, this is not being countered by most evolutionary biologists, with the argument that Homo sapiens did not descend from Cro-Magnon. Rather, they say now, Cro-Magnons were a collateral branch that died out. No, come on. Again, you can't observe that. Again, you can't quantify that. Come on. The issue here is truth. Real truth is constant. You know something, when God created the world, that's how the Bible said. God created the world. God did this. There's no word in the Bible like appears. It appears that God is coming again. It appears that he created the earth. It appears there's a probability and one can infer. These words are not used in the Bible. Yet, they have not been able to tear the Bible apart with all the modern findings, the modern thinking, and what they perceive to be modern science have not been able to dispel the things that the Bible have said 7,000 years ago. In Psalm 53, verse 1 said, fools say in their hearts, there is no God. The word is not saying they are fools because they say there's no God. I want you to understand. They are fools not because they say there's no God, but because they are fools, they say there's no God. And this is what it is implied in the writing here. Hence, under the scientific jargon that accompanies the definition of the various aspects of the so-called science, is the most illogical theory. One of these faith-based ideas that is presented as science is the theory of spontaneous generation of abiogenesis. Abiogenesis is an ancient theory holding that certain lower forms of life, especially the insects, produced by psychochemical agencies, form inorganic substances. What these evolutionists are saying is that living matter came from non-living matter. Come on. This is what your children are being taught in school. And that's why I always say to my folks in my church, outside of my church, the best education is a Christian education if you have a Christian child. I want to say to those who see it, but don't fully understand what Christian education is about. Christian education is also that Christians are teaching the subject matter. So the foundation of what the subject matter is will fall in harmony with what is facts and what is plausible. So you can't have people who are not Christian teaching Christian education. And more so, people who are Christian nominally cannot teach Christian education. It must be something that is rooted in the belief system of the teacher. I had to say that because this is one of the things that irks me and breaks me and turns me in my bed at night. All the experiments were done by many scientists during the period of more than 150 years, from Redi in 1668 to Franz Kolch in 1836, that disapprove abiogenesis. Evolution still maintains that abiogenesis is possible, but it will take a much longer time than the experiments that were done. They even suggested several millions to a billion years. It is obvious that this punctuated equilibrium, as the theory is called, is merely a ruse to deceive, since none of us can be around for the testing stage. So they say, well, it's real, but it will not take 10 years as you are trying to do, or 20 years. It will take a million years. So therefore, they are saying to me, I will never know if you are talking the truth or not. And I'm saying you are not. I'm saying what you are saying is not true. I'm saying what you are saying is nonsense. I'm saying what you are saying is not practical. And I'm saying it is not science. It is obvious that this punctuated equilibrium, as the theory is called, is merely a ruse. I said before. Evolution have also backed away from the theory that man evolved from apes. Remember that was a popular theory once? A racist theory also? But evolution have also backed away from the theory that man evolved from apes, and would even argue quite vociferously that they never did believe this. I guess they have arrived at this because people are asking, how come there are so many apes around if men have evolved from apes? They have now embraced a more intellectually accepted argument that humans and apes share an ancient common ancestor. That's new. But they say, no, this is what we have always argued. That's not true. That's not true, friend. The term biological evolution, this term biological evolution, many scientists hold the view that biological evolution can be proven due to the presence of identical DNA errors in the exact DNA location in human and primates. Now that might sound, oh boy, yes. If the errors are in the same place, then the argument that they evolved from the same source is germane. But folks, this morning I'm going to destroy all that. Biological evolution can be proven due to the presence of identical DNA. So what they are saying is because all these animals have DNA in the same place as man, well then we can say man and animals are from the same source. But the March 1982 issue of Science magazine is in an article titled The Origin of Man, a chromosomal pictorial legacy by J.J. Yunus and O. Prakash, had a pictorial of the human, chimpanzee, gorilla, and orangutan arranged in order beside each other. The pictures show that each numbered chromosome in the human, chimpanzee, gorilla, and orangutan looked almost the same length, with the exception of a chromosome number 2 in the humans. I am so convinced that this theory is nebulous and that I will not make an issue of these differences, but will argue that the exception is immaterial. Since if one fuses chromosomes numbers 2q and 2p of chimpanzees together, the result would look like human chromosome number 2. Now, but as fancy and scientific as the jargon may appear, there's no real observable data to prove this theory, or for that instance, to disprove the Bible's theory. The genetic similarity can be explained in the simplicity of the Word of God. The challenge of creationists has always been battling the aura of science from the pages of seemingly primitive books. During the age of enlightenment and the age of reason and the modern era, and now the postmodern era. So we who are creationists, we find ourselves always battling a jargon. Like a friend said to me that this theory is one that has been argued all about. So why I am going to that, something of that effect. Another friend asked me why. I'm saying because it is dressed up in a jargon that the unsuspecting will think that it is science and it is observable and it is factual. So I am here on the authority of God, who I must say, to bring into the argument. It's out there, you know, but I'm here to bring it up for my audiences. That this issue of evolution is not science. So when you hear people talk about they find something 100 billion years and thing, just ignore it. It's not science. They cannot prove it. They can't observe it. They cannot test it. They cannot quantify it. It's not science. It's a belief system based on subjectivity, conjectures, and the other. It's not science. It's a group of people who are trying desperately to do away with the creation story. And because they are desperately trying to do away with the creation story, they are coming up with all these fanciful ideas, putting it into intellectual jargon, and you unsuspectingly believe there's some merit to it, and you are holding to it as real when they cannot prove it to you. I'm going back to the errors in the same place. It is obvious according to the Bible that both man and beast. In fact, I want to read a Bible text there. In the fact, the Bible in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 19, it states, "Now Yahweh formed out of the ground all the beasts of the field and all the birds of the air out of the ground." It wasn't called into being that some preachers will hear him say, he formed man and he called animals into being. That's not what the Bible is teaching. The Bible is teaching that in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 19, "Now Yahweh formed out of the ground all the beasts of the field and all the birds of the air." In fact, in Genesis 1:20, he said, "Let the water teem with living creatures. Let the land provide living creatures." God made the wild animals. In fact, the Lord formed man from the dust of the earth also. So it is obvious, according to the Bible, that both man and primates were created from the dust of the ground. The word for dust in Hebrew is afar. In Genesis 18:27, the sons of Jacob are also called dust. Afar is used in the Old Testament as a dust in a living sense. So therefore, it is reasonable to believe and understand that if man and beast were formed from the same dust, and friend, and that is quantifiable, and that is testable, and that is observable. If you take a dust of earth that has not been traumatized with nuclear and different chemicals, you take a dust from a hand cup of earth from behind your backyard, and you test that earth in a lab, what you will find is that earth contains the same measure of carbon, of sulfur, of water, of all the minerals that is found in your body will be found in that earth. So when God said he created man from the dust of the earth, we have something that is observable and quantifiable to say, look here, what the Bible is saying is true. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying by that. So you on that basis, on the very first book of the Bible, God has placed something there that is scientific, that can be testable, that can be observable. Now they speak about, as for the billions of years theory, again, the Bible never explained the structure of the composition of trees, riverbeds, and so etc. However, we should note that the presence of carbon in coal, limestone, oil shale, etc., and the result of radiometric dating gives credence to a worldwide flood. So that's another thing that we can observe and test, that the Bible is speaking the truth. They cannot test any of their findings. I'm putting the Bible to the scientific test here this morning. Methinks the greatest difference between evolution and creation theories is that while both are faith-based, creation carries logic, reason, and facts. When God formed Adam from the dust of the earth on the 6th day of the creation week, if Adam's bones were scientifically tested, the result would not have been a 1-day-old infant bones. It would have been a bones of a man maybe in his 30, 40 years on his first day. Likewise, the trees, the rocks, the riverbeds, the soil, and all that was present at the creation would have been created as a mature age. Sun a day old were washed away. So the sun had to be created as if they were hundreds of years old. Firm. The rings in the trees, these magnificent tall trees that weighed hundreds of feet high into the air when God created them. If they were one ring, the wind would have broke them. So God would have had to create those trees as solid, age-old trees with thousands and thousands of rings in them that we use now to say, well, these rings show that this is the age of the tree. Yes, I agree. But when God created them, he did not create them with one ring. It is only, yes, it is possible. Just as Adam was an adult, the trees and rocks were adults. It is also conceivable explanation for a one-day-old creation being able to endure the natural elements. A one-day-old creation would not have been. So God created that creation on the first day as a mature and solid creation. What I am saying is observable. It's testable. It is rational. And I'm saying this based on the scripture. There is absolutely no guarantee that what they believe today, they will believe tomorrow. That's another part. Evolutionist theories and arguments have changed countless times with the advent of new discoveries and information over the last 400 years. So what is being said today, there's no guarantee. But you know something? What the Bible is saying today, it was said 4,000 years ago. And it will be said 4,000 years from now. Because the book is written. The book needs no editing. The book is completed.